My wife said she was at a work lunch, but I just found her in a cozy cafe with another man. She choked on her coffee when I sat down and said, "So, is this a business meeting or just monkey business?" I'm 42 years old, married to my wife Sarah, who's 39. We've been together for 17 years, married for 15. We live in Chicago, have 2 kids, a boy who's 12 and a girl who's 10. I work in IT for a logistics company, mostly from home. Sarah works in marketing for a firm downtown. She's always been the more social one. She loves networking, meeting people, doing happy hours with coworkers. I've always been more of a homebody, but it worked for us. At least I thought it did. For the past year or so, she's been busier. More meetings, more events, more working late. I didn't question it. She's ambitious, good at what she does, and I respected that. I figured if it helped her career, then good for her. We had a rhythm. I handled more stuff at home. School drop-offs, grocery runs, dinner most nights. It was a team thing. Or at least, that's what I believed. A few weeks ago, she mentioned she had a work lunch scheduled for Friday. It was going to be with clients, she said. Big account, important pitch. She was going to be out for most of the afternoon. That was normal. She's had these kinds of lunches before. I didn't think twice about it. That Friday, I was off work. System maintenance had been pushed, so I had nothing urgent. I ran some errands that morning, picked up a few things from the hardware store, dropped by my sister's place to help her fix a light fixture. Around 1 p.m., I realized I hadn't eaten yet. I decided to grab something at this cafe in Lincoln Park, the Green Bean. Cozy little place we both liked. We'd gone there a few times together, mostly weekend mornings. She even introduced me to their cold brew, which I hated at first, but eventually got hooked on. I walked in, looked around for a table, and froze. There, in the back corner by the window, was Sarah. Not with clients. Not with co-workers from her team. She was with one guy. Just one. I recognized him. Mark. He worked with her. I'd seen him at her office's Christmas party last year. Tall, clean cut, probably early 40s. Not a bad-looking guy. He'd been friendly when we met. I had no reason to dislike him. Until now. They were sitting close. Not touching, but close enough. She was laughing at something he said. Her hand lightly touched his forearm. His body language was open, leaning in. And the look on her face, it wasn't work. It was warmth. Familiarity. Intimacy. My heart started pounding. I wasn't angry at first. I was confused. Disoriented. Like I had walked into a scene from someone else's life. I kept staring. She didn't notice me yet. Neither did he. She took a sip of her coffee. I walked over. Calmly. I didn't even know what I was going to say, but I had to say something. When I reached the table, she looked up. Our eyes met. Her mouth opened slightly, then she coughed, choking on her drink. I pulled out a chair, sat down across from them. "So," I said, keeping my voice steady, "is this a business meeting or just monkey business?" She went pale. Mark stiffened. His face turned red. She tried to speak, but nothing came out at first. Mark looked like he wanted to disappear. I looked at him. "Do you want to explain this?" I asked. He stood up, stammered something about needing to get back to the office, and walked away fast, almost knocking over a chair. She watched him go, then turned back to me. "John, I can explain," she said. "I'm sure you can," I replied. "Start." She looked around, embarrassed. "Not here. Please." "No," I said. "Here's fine." She lowered her voice. "It's not what you think." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Really? Then what is it?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like what I think." She looked down at her hands. "We've been seeing each other. For a few months. It just happened." I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. "How long?" 3 months, she said, still not looking at me. I stood up. "Enjoy your lunch," I said, and walked out. I got in my car and just sat there. I didn't start the engine. I didn't call anyone. I just stared at the steering wheel and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I thought about calling my best friend, but I couldn't even form the words in my head. I sat there for almost an hour before I finally drove off. I didn't go home right away. I drove to the lake. Just sat and watched the water. It was cold and gray and ugly, like the inside of my chest. My phone buzzed a few times. I didn't look. I didn't want to see her name. Eventually, I went home. The kids were still at school. She wasn't home yet. When she did come home that evening, we sat in silence for a while. She didn't know what to say. I didn't want to hear anything she had to say. But eventually, I broke the silence. "Why am I don't know," she said. "It wasn't planned. It started with work lunches. Then talking. Then it just became more. Do you love him?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I don't know." That hurt more than anything. Not a denial. Not a no. Just, "I don't know. We haven't told the kids yet. I sleep in the guest room. We talk when we have to." She says she's sorry. She says it was a mistake. But she still sees him. She swears they're not together now. That it's over. But I don't believe her. I don't trust her. How could I? I feel like I'm living with a stranger. A version of Sarah that I never saw coming. I keep going over the last year, wondering what I missed. Were there signs? Did she try to tell me and I didn't hear it? Or did she just get bored? Did I become invisible? I'm not looking for advice. I just needed to put this out there. I don't know where we go from here. She wants to try therapy. I don't even know if I want to. I look at her now, and I don't see my wife. I see someone who lied, who betrayed me, and still tries to pretend like we can fix it. Maybe we can. Maybe we can't. I honestly don't know. But that cafe scene, that moment when she choked on her coffee and looked at me like a ghost had walked in, that's burned into my brain now. It plays on loop every time I close my eyes. I didn't go to therapy. Not right away. I told her I wasn't ready, and that was the truth. The idea of sitting in a room while she talked about us, like we were just having a rough patch, made me sick. I needed to watch. I needed to know. So I started paying more attention. I tracked patterns. When she left. When she came home. How long she was gone. I didn't tell her. I didn't ask questions either. I let her talk, and I listened. One Thursday, she said she had to work late. Again, she gave some excuse about prepping a deck for a pitch. Said her team would be in the office until 9. She even packed a little dinner. But something felt off. She'd been distant all week. Not cold, just distant. Like her body was here but her head was somewhere else. And I knew where somewhere else was. I waited an hour after she left, then called her office from a different number. A young-sounding intern picked up. I asked if Sarah was in. There was a pause. No, she left a little while ago, the girl said. She said she wasn't feeling great. I didn't say anything. I hung up. I got in the car. I didn't even know where I was going at first. But my hands did. I drove toward downtown, not to her office but near River North, where her company had done a lot of events. She liked the restaurants there. The quiet little bars. I parked near a hotel I knew she liked. We'd gone there for our anniversary once, 6 years ago. They had a rooftop bar and a great view of the skyline. It was almost 8:30 when I saw her. She wasn't alone. She came out of the hotel lobby with Mark. Same guy. Same energy. But this time, they weren't just talking. He had his hand on her back. She was smiling, laughing at something he said. I watched them from across the street, hidden behind a parked van. She looked happy, like I hadn't seen her in months. Maybe years. They walked down the street, not holding hands, but close. Too close for just co-workers. They turned the corner and disappeared. I didn't follow. I couldn't. My hands were shaking again. But my mind was clear. She lied. Again. I didn't go home right away. I drove around the city for hours, thinking. Not just about her. About me. About the kids. About how I'd let things slip while thinking everything was okay. I always thought loyalty was enough. That showing up, providing, staying steady, meant something. But maybe to her, that wasn't exciting anymore. When I finally got home, it was nearly midnight. She was already there, in bed. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She didn't ask. Maybe she thought I didn't know. Maybe she didn't care. But here's where things started to shift. The next morning, I didn't make coffee like I usually did. I didn't speak. I didn't sit at the table while she got the kids ready. I was distant. And she noticed. She watched me, trying to read my face. Later that day, I got a message. From an unknown number. Just one line. You deserve the truth. Meet me at 6th and LaSalle tomorrow at 4 p.m. I stared at the message for a while. Didn't respond. Didn't tell her. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, but I had a guess. I waited a full day. The message stayed in my head like a ticking bomb. Next afternoon, I showed up. Parked near the corner. Watched from the car. And sure enough, Mark was there. Alone. Waiting. He looked nervous. Kept checking his phone. I didn't get out until I saw him start to leave. That's when I stepped out and called his name. He froze. I walked up slowly. You text me? He nodded. Yeah. What do you want? I need to tell you something, he said. You don't know everything. And I think you should. I didn't trust him. Not for a second. But I was curious. He looked around. Can we talk somewhere private? No, I said. Here's fine. He nodded. Then took a deep breath. She told me you knew. That you were okay with it. I stared at him. What? She said you two were basically done. That you were sleeping in separate rooms. That it was just about the kids now. That you had an understanding. I didn't speak. She said she was going to leave you. She told me that last month. That you both agreed to wait until summer for the kids' sake. My throat was dry. She told you all that? He nodded. I wouldn't have. I never wanted to be the bad guy. But if that was true, I thought it was different. She's still here, I said. Still sleeping in my house. Still pretending. He didn't say anything. Are you still seeing her? I asked. His eyes dropped. Yeah. But after that day at the cafe, she said it had to slow down. That you weren't handling it well. I laughed. Loud. No kidding. He looked genuinely uncomfortable now. I'm not trying to cause more pain. But I can't keep doing this either. I think she's been lying to both of us. I didn't respond. I just walked away. That night, I didn't say a word to her. But I watched her more closely. How she acted. What she said. I noticed the tiny lies. The phone turned upside down. The way she smiled at her screen. How quick she was to step into another room to take a call. It was like once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I started documenting things. Times. Places. Photos. Not because I wanted revenge. But because something deep down told me I was going to need it. And sure enough, a week later, I found something on our home computer that made everything worse. It wasn't emails. It was bank statements. Hotel charges. Rideshare receipts. A second phone bill under a name I didn't recognize. It wasn't just some fling. It was a second life. Built on lies. And somehow, while I cooked dinner and helped the kids with homework, she was out building a new story without me in it. And then one day, our daughter asked me something I'll never forget. Daddy, why do you and Mommy never laugh anymore? I didn't have an answer, but I knew something was going to break soon. The night after our daughter asked that question, I couldn't sleep. Her words hit harder than anything Sarah had done. Kids feel things, even when you try to shield them. And I realized, whatever I was doing by staying quiet, it wasn't protecting them. I was just delaying the collapse. But I wasn't ready to blow it all up yet. Not without knowing everything. A few days later, I used her old iPad. She rarely touched it anymore. I remembered she'd used it mostly for work trips, Netflix, and once in a while checking her emails. It was still linked to her iCloud account. I opened the Messages app. She'd logged out. But the Files app? Not locked. Not wiped. Inside, I found PDFs of invoices, random hotel names and cities she hadn't even told me she'd visited. I remembered her saying she was in New York for a 3-day conference in March. There were 2 charges in Miami that week. 5-star resort. Same resort, 2 nights. In one of the scanned hotel invoices, I found both her name and his. Same room. That was the moment it stopped being a maybe. But here's where it turned into something else. One folder was labeled Marion. I opened it. Inside were scans of legal documents. A lease. In both Sarah's and Mark's names. The address was in Logan Square. A 2-bedroom condo. Brand new building. Start date? 2 weeks from now. I stared at it for a long time. She wasn't just lying. She was planning to leave. She had a move-in date. But why hadn't she said anything? Why keep pretending? The answer hit me all at once. Money. She was waiting for her year-end bonus. I remembered her saying if she left before the bonus posted, she'd lose it. It was sizable, nearly 20 grand. And knowing her, she probably wanted to secure that cash before she walked out the door. So I kept quiet. I let her think I knew nothing. I even started being a little nicer. Not fake, but just less cold. Enough to make her second guess if I was still suspicious. She stopped being as careful. Her smile came back, not because she loved me, but because she thought she had the upper hand again. And then one night, she left her laptop open while she went to the store. I saw a desktop folder she'd been hiding. Inside were letters. To him. But here's the real twist. They weren't just about us. They were about him and his wife. Turns out, Mark is married too. With a son. His wife's name is Nadia. I remembered her faintly from the office party. Short, soft-spoken, had an accent I couldn't place. In one letter, Sarah had written, I hate that we're both living double lives. But I keep thinking, what if one of us has the guts to just pull the trigger first? You said she suspects something. I don't want to keep hiding. You said you'd tell her by April, so now it wasn't just my family she was helping destroy. I had everything now. Evidence, timelines, conversations, financial documents. But I didn't do anything. Not yet. Because I had one more question. Did she love him? So I tested something. I asked her, randomly, if she wanted to go to dinner next Friday. A rare, just us, thing. I acted casual. She looked surprised, then hesitant. Can we do Saturday instead? She asked. I might be wiped from work. I said sure. Then I waited. And checked her shared calendar on the iPad. She blocked out Friday night with the initials M/N. I knew that meant Mark and Nadia. I wasn't sure why she'd use that unless she was planning to help him tell his wife. My heart dropped. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to help him leave his wife. And that's when the thought hit me, what if I tell Nadia first? What if instead of confronting Sarah again, I went to the one person whose world was about to be flipped without warning? I dug around a little. Found Nadia's work info. She was a pediatric nurse at a clinic in Edgewater. I rehearsed what I'd say, what I'd show her, how I'd keep it from blowing up in a way that hurt the kids, both sets of kids. I haven't reached out yet, but the file is ready. The photos, the hotel records, the messages, the lease agreement. She has no idea I know. And Sarah? She keeps kissing me goodnight. She keeps packing the kids' lunches like nothing's wrong. She keeps texting him from the bathroom while I read bedtime stories in the next room. But the second her bonus hits and she tries to walk out clean, she's going to find out just how much I know. And just how many people she's about to answer to. That Friday night, I watched her get ready. She wore a navy blouse I hadn't seen before, something too polished for a casual dinner. Her makeup was soft but intentional, the kind she used to wear when we'd go out on dates before the kids. I told her she looked nice. Thanks, she said, a little surprised. Then I asked, so? What's this meeting again? She blinked. Just a team dinner. We closed a campaign early. It's nothing big. I smiled. That's great. You work hard. You deserve it. She smiled back, hesitated like she expected more questions. When none came, she grabbed her purse, kissed me on the cheek, and said she'd be back late. Her hand trembled slightly as she pulled the door shut. At 7:45 p.m., I got in my car. Nadia's clinic closed at 8. I waited across the street, palms sweating against the steering wheel. I didn't know what I expected, but when I saw her walking out, alone, hair pulled back, coat buttoned up tight against the wind, I knew I had to act. I crossed the street fast. Nadia. She turned, confused. Hi, my name's John. I'm Sarah's husband. Her eyes widened instantly. She clutched her bag tighter. Why are you talking to me? I think we need to talk, I said. Please. I know who you are, and I think you deserve to know who I am too. She stared at me for a few seconds, and then whispered, oh my God. We went to a diner nearby. The kind with cracked vinyl booths and waitresses who don't ask questions. I showed her everything. The photos. The lease. The letters. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stared and whispered. He told me it was over. That she was harassing him. Then she asked, are you planning to confront them? I nodded. Tonight. Her hands tightened around her coffee mug. I want to be there. At 9:03 p.m., we walked into the rooftop bar of that same Logan Square hotel, the one they booked before. It wasn't crowded, dim lights casting soft glows across couples and small groups. We spotted them at a corner table. Mark had his arm resting behind Sarah's chair. She was leaning in, smiling. Until she looked up. Our eyes met. Everything in her face collapsed, like watching a wave crash over a sandcastle. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Mark turned. His expression changed too. Shock, then panic. Nadia walked ahead of me. Her voice was calm, but loud enough to cut through the bar noise. I see you're comfortable. Thought this was supposed to be over. Mark stood up too fast, knocking over his drink. Nadia, I can explain. Sit down, I snapped. Both of you. They froze. I pulled out my phone, dropped it on the table, screen up, opened to the lease document. Sarah's face went sheet white. You were going to wait until your bonus came in, I said quietly. Then leave me. Leave the kids. You had the whole thing planned. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't know how to tell you. You lied every single day. I cut her off. While I took care of the house. While I helped our daughter build a volcano for her science project. While you texted him from the shower. Mark tried to speak, but Nadia beat him to it. You told me she was obsessed with you. You told me she was unstable. He held up his hands. I didn't want to lose everything. Then you shouldn't have slept with her, I said coldly. Silence settled across the room. A nearby couple stared. One waiter was frozen halfway with a tray of drinks. Sarah looked like she wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. I turned to her. You could have told me. We could have ended this clean. But you chose this. You chose lies. She shook her head, finally finding her voice. I didn't want to hurt you. You did anyway, I said. And now? You don't get to control how this ends. Nadia stood up. You'll hear from my lawyer, she said to Mark. He didn't even try to argue. As for Sarah, she followed me outside. John, wait, please. I turned. Tears streamed down her face. I was scared. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You had a second life, Sarah. And you didn't even think twice. I still love you, she said. I looked at her for a long time. No. You loved the version of me that made life easy. That kept the house running while you chased something new. She sobbed. People walking by stared. I didn't care anymore. I was going to tell you. After the bonus. I wanted to leave something behind for the kids. You mean for yourself? I snapped. That money isn't for the kids. It was to start your new life with him. You wanted it to look like you earned your clean exit. You didn't. She broke down, knees buckling slightly. Please don't hate me. I don't, I said. I pity you. Then I walked away. Mark and Nadia filed for separation within the week. She moved in with her sister. I filed too. Sarah didn't contest it. We split the house, me staying with the kids. She moved in with her parents temporarily, though I know she ended things with Mark shortly after. Or maybe he ended it with her. Either way, I didn't care anymore. She cried when she packed her things. Tried to hug me. I turned away. The kids asked questions. I told them what I could without putting her on blast. Sometimes grown-ups stop being a team, I said. They accepted it. For now. Friends started to find out. My sister called her a coward. My coworker Mark, different Mark, offered me his guest room if I needed space. But I stayed. This was still my home. It's been 3 months. The papers are signed. Sarah sees the kids on weekends. She tries hard. Brings little gifts. Texts them too much. They're polite, but I see the cracks. They're angry too in their own way. And me? I'm okay. Some nights are rough. Others are just quiet. But it's honest now. And that feels better than any fake smile or half-truth. I've started therapy. For myself, not to fix anything. Just to unpack it all. And if you ask me now, what I regret most, it's that I let her lie to me for so long. I knew deep down something wasn't right. But I didn't want to face it. I know better now. She wanted a clean exit. She got a public reckoning. And me? I got the truth. That's more than I had before. And maybe that's enough.